there! Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. This is not the usual pavé arrangement, though this is kind of a hybrid. It's a little bit more lush, it's a little bit more fancy free, and I used a bit of some greenery and foliage in this one to give it a little bit more of a romantic garden style feel. So I always begin my tutorials the same way with my vase already prepped. If you need to see how to do this, I will link up to the right here for you. Another how to make pavé arrangement so you can start off in that way. But essentially I create a dome shape with galvanized chicken wire, put that in the vase, secure it in with 1/4 inch Oasis floral tape, fill the vase with water, put in the flower food, stir, and then it's good to go. This arrangement, I am beginning with this stunning blush, kind of mauve, however you say it, Pieris japonica. There was no fragrance to this Pieris. Usually during the peak season for Pieris, it has a really stunning fragrance with the white Pieris there, but today we've got the mauve, and I think it was kind of at the end of the season. A little bit more of that patinaed kind of bronzed, weathered look to it, which I absolutely love. And then gorgeous viburnum flowers, not the berries, but the flowers this time. And I made my original kind of outline shape with the Pieris, then went in with this stunning viburnum flower. This was a Dutch import. And then we have amazing, also Dutch coxcomb. I strip off all of the foliage on this. For coxcomb, you're really gonna want to take off all of the foliage. This is very important. And then I go ahead and whittle off any of the nubs that will be below that mesh galvanized net, so that if I need to move the flower around in the arrangement, it's very easy to do that. It won't get caught on that wire mesh on the way out. So this is just a little tip that I think will be really useful to you in your designing, to make sure that you're cleaning off all of your stems. This is another arrangement that was a last minute order. When that happens, I don't have an extra day to process the flowers, so I go in and process essentially as I'm designing, which basically means I'm taking off all of the greenery and stripping the stem of any of those external nodes or little things that would get caught in the chicken wire mold. So this amazing kind of sunset peach colored calla lily, another gorgeous Dutch import, and very similar to the usual pavé arrangement that I make, but this is a lot more loose. It's got the green foliage in it, which allows the flowers to have a little bit more of a backdrop. I picked up this super cute picoteed dahlia, another gorgeous blush peach color. And again, stripping off all of that foliage, cutting at an angle, cutting off any of the laterals, so you just get down to one long clean stem. And the water that I'm using, which when, again, you haven't had time to process, I always go in and use warm water so that it really helps the flowers to drink up properly, not hot, but warm. And a generous scoop of flower food. This is that UCI scratch vase that I use all the time for my extravagant size arrangements. This is an extravagant size arrangement. And yeah, it just makes sure that the water is warm, there's flower food in there, that way these just straight from market flowers will get the opportunity to hydrate properly, and there's enough water in this size vase that if they do drink a lot and the recipient forgets to put water, it's just fine. it hopefully should not be much of a problem. That's why I like to use vases that have a bit more of a reservoir of water, so to speak, so that the flowers have plenty to drink from. Then again, going in and cleaning up all of these stems on the fly, and this is part of the processing that is really important. A lot of people or florists may tend to keep that foliage on there, but because I buy a specific type of foliage that I want, I don't tend to keep the rose foliage on there because A, it takes away energy from the blooms. The hydration would go more to the foliage first because that is, of course, in the order of how it drinks. The foliage comes first. So when you strip off all of that foliage, it sends that hydration straight up to the heads. The spray rose is marvelous. I don't know the name, and I don't think my vendors had a name for it either, but it's just really one of those super stunning special garden rose spray roses, and the edges have a beautiful watercolor picotee striation to them. I tend to like to choose at least 2 to 3 varieties that have some sort of variegation or striation or picotee nature to it, so it adds variety, texture, and interest to my arrangements. If you've been watching for a while, you may have noticed that, but in case I haven't been explicit, there it is. Then I have this beautiful, also peachy blush colored rose. I will link the name of this rose below for you. All of the flowers will be linked below in case you would like to try to recreate this arrangement. And like all of my other pavé arrangements, I'm going in and filling in the largest holes where I see it needs it. I went in with most of my filler first, which is kind of not a backwards way to do things, but an unusual way, at least for me. I typically tend to go in with my focal flowers first and then add in any foliage or accents afterward, but I decided to start this arrangement with the foliage to get the general outline because I don't have any of those huge hydrangea that I usually use in my pavé arrangements. This is a little bit more of a classical style, so foliage first, then in with, again, it's kind of like a reverse, I'm trying to explain this process to you, but it's like a reverse way of engineering this style arrangement. I tend to go in with all of the fillers and the greenery first, which creates the kind of backdrop, and then all of the focal flowers, which are more or less all around the same size. I have 2 different types of spray roses, and then this gorgeous kind of salmon-y peach spray rose as well, around the same size. So if you'll notice for this arrangement, all of the flowers again are around the same size. The roses and the dahlia and the coxcomb are all around the same size, and then the spray roses, of course, are the same size. The pieris japonica and the viburnum flowers are the same size, and the callas are the same size as the roses and the coxcomb. So we have like 2 to 3 different sized flowers with varying texture. So they're all kind of the same size, but then they have different textures. So it creates a highly textural, nuanced tapestry to look at. And I do this very intentionally so that this almost creates more of a painterly style arrangement. I hope that this way of explaining to you makes sense. So again, stripping off all of that foliage, very important, and then also using my Zen port shears to snip off any of the little buds That is a textural detail that I don't want in this particular arrangement because I already have so much texture happening that it would just add a little bit of messiness, which I don't want in this particular case. Were this a more or like greenery-less arrangement, I may keep that element as a textural detail, but for this arrangement, it would just be too much. So I'm snipping that all off. And also, again, because I'm snipping that off, it's sending all of the hydration that would go to the foliage and to those little blooms straight to the open blooms that we have to work with. So as you can see, this arrangement, as it's kind of coming together, is in a pavé style. Most of the flowers are all on the same surface level, but there's little bits of ins and outs happening here so that it creates just a little bit of dimension. Not everything is on the same surface. Otherwise, it would look like an entirely different arrangement. There's about an inch or two depth pushing in and out between each flower so that it creates varying texture. And I love that. It is a highly time-consuming way to design arrangements, but I won't do it any other way. This arrangement took about an hour and a half to design. Yeah, I think that's what the footage came out to, and then I chopped it up, put it at 500 speeds so it makes sense to you and you're not sitting and watching an hour and a half video. You've got this nice, clean, sped up tutorial to watch. So I hope that all of this makes sense. Perhaps, would you like to see a video where I'm not talking, or does the talking help? Let me know what you think below, because it's hard to be objective when I'm making these videos. I just try to do, what feels right. So my philosophy around creating this style arrangement is it's not pavé and it's not lush garden style. It's kind of a hybrid of both. And for that reason, it feels highly elevated and, in my opinion, very chic, because you've got the best of both worlds. Whereas if it were just pavé, it would look a little bit more contemporary. And if it were just garden style, it may look slightly old-fashioned, but this was for a very cool couple, young couple's anniversary, and I wanted it to feel romantic and fun, yet also slightly contemporary. So that was the reason behind designing it in this fashion. And then, of course, going in with carnations. It's something that I love to use. If you watched my how to make small pavé arrangements, I explained a little bit about how carnation kind of was my emblematic flower for the longest time, because people didn't want to use it. They thought it was like this weird, cheap FTD flower, and it's totally not. There are so many exquisite varieties and colors available now, as well as textures, and it remains one of my OG favorites. I love this as a textural detail. It's kind of like one of the finishing notes that I love to use, a little signature, if you will, in my arrangements. I think that's kind of what brings it this old-fashioned yet still very contemporary look. Carnation had its resurgence probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I really started noticing florists getting back into using carnations, and I'm so glad that it became more popular, because that really broadens the also kind of the consumer's perspective of carnations as well, bringing flowers back into fashion that were maybe passé for a little bit is super fun. I love that a lot of florists have also been using gerbera. I don't use gerbera a bunch. It's pretty seldom that I see a style gerbera that I want to use. But anyway, are you seeing this stunning peachy pink arrangement coming together? This was for just a beautiful art deco home. in downtown, and I thought this was just super chic, romantic, yet contemporary for an anniversary. Finishing off with finishing touch, vigorous shake, and then a nice about 5 rotations of spraying up and down the entire arrangement. Here she is. Here is the final look. That was such a quick video. I hope that you learned something new today. And if, at the very least, I hope that it was entertaining. So if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more floral design education and entertainment. All of the tools and materials that I use to create this arrangement can be found in the description box below in my Amazon store. Full disclaimer, if you do purchase from that store, I do receive a very small commission, so thank you very much for watching. Please, as always, feel free to leave your comments and questions below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.